Hello, welcome back. Search is Sean. This is another Chat with Sean episode. And yeah, really looking forward to this. Got a good old friend of the show back on. And let's see, we're getting into the Christmas spirit. We were actually meant to wear Christmas jumpers, but we both kind of forgot. But anyway, but we have Christmas stuff going on. So yeah, we've made up for it. But yeah, I'll get into the intro as usual. And we got some great topics to get into. So I'll start off. As you can see, we've got Ashley with us, Ashley Liddell, and he is the co-founder and search everywhere director at Deviation. He was also recently on the main stage at BrightonSEO, as you probably saw if you were there. So yeah, welcome back, Ashley. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, me too, man. It's good to be back. I really enjoyed our last chat, there was a few more of us on the call. But looking forward to just bouncing ideas around and having a good old chat with yourself, to be fair.
Yeah, and we actually met in person, which was
yeah, it was really cool. I think the nerve might have been starting to kick in a little bit. I was about to go on stage, yeah, but no, it was cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to get some tips from you because I'm gonna probably not on the main stage, but I'm gonna be making my debut at BrightonSEO. So
I saw that on your LinkedIn, man. Yeah, you'll be fine. I'm sure you'll smash it. I always say to people, just go out and at the end of the day, you're an expert. You've invested the time building the deck. You know the topic, so just go and enjoy it. The talk's a bit you get to enjoy, if anything.
Well, we'll see. I don't see you, but we'll see. I think starting first off is just really general, I guess, because I know you're doing a lot. So fun watching your journey and your agency, like seeing how you're getting on and the breakthroughs you're having. What are currently the things you're focusing on and why? Obviously, I probably know the main answer, but it'd be good to get more detail into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's changed ever so slightly since our launch. So as a bit of context, we launched in April 2024 and it was very much a social search play. And the agency was very focused on Google's not the be all end all of search, but AI, LLMs, they hadn't infiltrated the conversation yet fully. We had ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini, but AI overviews hadn't launched and there wasn't that cut through to the mainstream that we're now starting to see. So it was definitely a social search player. That's now transitioned ever so slightly where we're now using the social search and traditional SEO and digital PR to make those LLM plays and to future-proof brands, as we're calling it, through search everywhere for the future of search, which we see being a massive AI, LLM, agentic experience. So in terms of what we're focusing on, social search, as I started saying, is a piece. So whether that's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, whatever platform demands attention or where the audience is spending time, we'll try and find ways to infiltrate conversations on those platforms. Then we have the traditional SEO play where we're making sure our websites and our on-site experiences are optimized for a Google search. Then there's the LLM play where we're, again, making sure our on-site experiences are speaking to the AIs and the LLMs and testing what breaks through, what gets cut through in that space so we can start to understand what the AIs are looking for. And then finally, there's the digital PR play where we're obviously building those off-site signals, those brand mentions, and all of that good stuff so that we can, what we're calling grow preference in a conversation so that our brands that we work with become the preferred choice by users through brand mentions in blogs, in regional, in national press, in industry press, and therefore get cited and become the preference of the AI and LLMs as well. So that's a lot. Well, that's what we're up to.
It seems like the job of the SEO has really expanded so much in the last year. It seems like people saying, "Oh, SEO is dead now," but actually, it's seems to have grown. If anything, like you say, search everywhere is your term that you use, but it does seem like it's opened the door to so many forms of search. Like you say, social channels. You go all the way down to I guess Amazon, and there's so many forms of it that I think it's we got a bigger job now, and then we got to focus more on digital PR, as you say, and that form of outreach or whether. I think it's quite exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I got into marketing, I didn't get into SEO. My first love was marketing, and it's definitely becoming a situation where search is now part of that marketing discussion and part of wider marketing activations, as opposed to just being this little sort of what are they up to with the web devs type conversation that I think it maybe has been in the past. I think it's more fun. I think, especially since I got into the industry, it's the most exciting and the most thought-provoking it's probably been. And as I say, it's going beyond what the parameters of SEO were, which means it is moving closer to being a marketing type conversation or an all-encompassing marketing conversation, rather than just being a tech play that's maybe had the wrong reputation of in the past.
Yeah, 100%. I could agree more. And I like the fact you said future proofing, because that's a term I'm using a lot internally in my job. And I think that's the thing. People say, oh, this isn't exactly this yet, or this isn't whatever at this moment. That's not the point. The point of when you're like at the top and you're building strategies is to think about what could happen and what may happen in the future. That's the whole point of strategies and future proofing yourself. You're an army. You don't think about what wars are going on now. I mean, obviously you still got to think about that, but you also think what may happen and what actually is likely to happen, and look at trends and patterns and scenarios. And that's why you say like the marketing side I think is really fun, because it seems like you say we can do a bit more of that than maybe we were previously with just the usual, like the setup of SEO, perhaps like a year or so ago. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I think that's the strongest narrative at the moment. That's sort of being missed by a lot of the LinkedIn conversation that you see around SEO at the moment. There's a lot of SEOs that are too busy arguing over acronyms and what we should be calling it, and not enough going, okay, well, is this affecting my industry now? Is this likely to impact my industry in the next 12 months? I think that, especially when we started Deviation, or maybe the 6 months in the build up to me going public, this was seen as like a 2, 3, 4 year away play. But the acceleration that's been achieved by the AIs and the LLMs and the way that they've been able to grow their audience is just speeding up that future-proofing need, because all of a sudden you're not coming up with a strategy that you're going, okay, this is going to prepare us for 2028 or 2029. It could be that you're preparing for something that's going to become mainstream in 6 months, because we're playing with something now that is really hard to predict when it's going to have that cut through. And yes, there's a chance that we could be in the middle of a bubble and there might be a slight burst, and we might have to revert to old tactics for a little while, or more traditional tactics. But I think ultimately the AI, LLM, Agentic model will win. And if brands are future-proofing and preparing for that now, that's never going to be a bad thing, I don't think.
Yeah, and I hear about this bubble stuff all the time, and it could, look, AI bubble for me is like so big that like there's many parts to it. Like Google will continue; they're not going to burst. Like their AI and everything. The others may fail. There may be a few failures from others because they haven't got the infrastructure Google has. But I'm sure Google and Microsoft, for example, Microsoft been failing at search for quite a while. Yeah, they're still company. They've got so much money and infrastructure; they can do that kind of thing. Sometimes businesses can have failing products and still continue them for other reasons than the main.
And I think, exactly. And I think that the search space is obviously a small piece of the AI bubble. Like, it's a really small piece of the potential of AI. I think if the bubble bursts, we'll be one element that actually stays the course, and we'll be part of almost the second coming of AI if that burst does happen, because the adoption's already taken place. So we're not relying on like adoption happening in the future. There's already evidence to say that adoption's taking place, especially within younger audiences. So in the search space, even if the AI bubble bursts, companies go bust, whether that's ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI, or whatever, whichever it is that does end up causing that bust, I think search will be fine anyway. I think that it just ride the course.
Yeah, I agree. And like Rand Fishkin said when I spoke to him, like, you know, that OpenAI obviously launched their browser and it's not being picked up that much. You know, not many people are using it, but they're using it because they want to start scraping sites and have an excuse to do that. Like I said, there's reasons behind things, not
Yeah,
always.
behind doing these things.
Yeah, and also like you say, we know for a fact like user behaviors have changed. They want answers quickly. They want visuals. They want audio. They want stuff like this. Like that's all happened. Like that's not like the future. And it's just AI and other elements like the social channels have just picked up on that and run with it and kind of delivered it, you know. And I can't see that reversing. I'm back to a time where humans are ready to just read pages and pages of crap before they get their answer. You know, they're never going to go backwards. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree massively there. I think with the like reverting or the user behavior piece, it is exactly that, where the user have showed their hands now and they're not going to go and accept the friction that they were receiving on a website or through a traditional Google search. That's why I make that point around, I think the search space will stay the course because we've already seen that adoption start to take place. So yeah, other industries, other areas of AI, potentially bigger areas of AI in terms of being that £1 trillion industry or however big they're saying the AI space is going to be now, they may have like a bubble burst, but I think the search space will definitely stay the course.
Yeah, and I think that was shown when Adobe spending that amount of money on SEMrush. You know, you don't do that because there's nothing there, you know.
Exactly.
And this is something that really piqued my interest that I saw on your feed around your creator network. Can you tell me more about that and what it involves?
Yeah, for sure. So when we started Deviation, we maybe naively thought that, okay, we're going to be able to go to a brand and brands are going to have these existing relationships with creators that we're then going to be able to leverage to do our search strategy. So after maybe 3 to 6 months of doing that and realizing that not all the brands we speak with are going to have that internal creator capability, we put the onus on ourselves to go and develop that network of creators who we know we can rely on to create briefs for the brands that we're working with. So our creator network is essentially finding, vetting, and obviously IDing creators who can go out and execute the search content that we need for our brand partners. And they'll do that across TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, and then Reddit as well. So they'll go and execute on those platforms. A cool one that we could probably talk about is Discord as well. So like they're starting to go and have those conversations and do that for us on a Discord like community as well. But yeah, the whole point is, can we be proactive instead of reactive, where we have a network of creators that we can lean on, whether that's UGC who are creating it for the brand channel, or whether that is active content creators with their own communities who are suggesting that they want to work with beauty brands, fashion brands, travel brands, whatever it is. And then we're just hiring for a creator partnerships lead, which again is a bit of an expansion of that creator network for us to better manage negotiations between our brands and our creators and get more bang for our buck from the content that we create, essentially. So yeah, it's part of the scaling of our proposition, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. It's going to be such a big sort of part of things going forward, isn't it? And especially user generated content. And like you say, obviously being in house quite a few times, it's difficult to get that sorted in house. Like people don't either have the time or the knowledge on how to get around doing that, or you know, so it's great if like you work with an agency and they can deal with that, or they've got some sort of network to work from. I think
yes, cool. I mean, this is more of a business play than a marketing play, but we can get into it anyway. But like one thing we realized is when we first started, we was treating this as if we were briefing blogs back in the day. because that's what we've always done as SEOs. So we was going and we was briefing a creator, sending our briefs to the brand first, and then sending the briefs to creators after the brand had signed it off. Now, that's great. But the issue is when brand goes, we want to scale this. So we'll agree and say, okay, we're going to create 20 pieces of content a month with a brand. But then the brand goes, we want to scale this for Black Friday and do 100 pieces of content this month based on your briefs. All of a sudden, Deviation are having to sign off 100 pieces of content instead of 20. We're having to check a lot more content. There's a lot more management that's going on there. And it can cause awkward conversations where we go, well, you're not paying for that, so we're not going to do that type stuff. So by flipping that on the head and then saying, well, actually, we can manage the process A to Z because we've got our own creator network, or we've got our own creator partnerships lead who's going to go and make these relationships from our side, we can then say, well, no, you're paying for 20 pieces of content. We can go and scale that to 50 for you. We can go scale it to 100. Well, this is how much it's going to cost. And it should make our business like more profitable and mean that we're not overselling services or becoming stretched as a team, which again, I realize that's a business play, but that's sort of the thought process behind it as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to get the insights around it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's really cool. This was an interesting one around, obviously, your specialty is search everywhere, but how do you do that sort of strategy on like a little resource or small budget, or, you know, you've got a very small team? How do you be everywhere that your users are if you haven't got those resources?
Yeah, so there is a bit of a misconception with that search everywhere phrasing. The main one being that when we say search everywhere, there should be a little asterisk at the end of it, which is search everywhere your users are spending time. We're not expecting brands, even the biggest brands in the world, to pump money into TikTok, for example, if there's no evidence and there's no data to support that their audience are on that platform. That just makes no sense, and it's a waste of resource. So it's that idea of, firstly, it's that idea of search everywhere your audience spend time. And then that becomes an easier conversation straight off the bat, because you can say to teams with little resource or little budget, well, this is the platform that most of your audience are spending time on. This is the platform where the conversation is thriving and you need to be part of the conversation the most. Maybe it's because your competitors are showing up here, and you can qualify it in different ways, but it'll either be conversations thriving, your presence is strong so you can grow from a strong foundation. You don't have a presence, so it needs to be a focus because your competitors are thriving there. There's a few ways to qualify it, but it would be finding that one platform where you can meet your business goals and also meet the needs of that platform, and focusing your attention there to start off with. For the brands that we've been speaking to, most of them have the traditional SEO foundations in place. They've nailed the traditional SEO foundations, and that's why they're now looking to social search or looking to digital PR, looking to search everywhere. So we can then say to them, okay, you've nailed blog on here. You're now on your website. You're now seeing 0-click searches are stealing that traffic, and you need to be demanding attention in different ways. So we're going to repurpose those blogs as YouTube content because the conversation is thriving on YouTube, or TikTok content because your audience are spending X amount of time on TikTok and engaging with this conversation on the platform as well. So yeah, when there's little resource, it's a prioritization piece, first and foremost. In terms of small internal teams, it's understanding what your strengths are and then leaning on other teams, which is, if I'm an SEO and I'm quite a traditional SEO, it's acknowledging, well, I don't really know what a social brief looks like. I don't know how to liaise and speak to creators myself. So maybe it's just putting those insights and the data that you can find as an SEO, that we all love as an SEO, and going and sharing that with a brand team or sharing that with a social team, so that instead of the whole onus being on a small SEO team or a small search team, you can push the onus onto a social media manager or a brand executive who can then help you or take the lead on executing based on your insights. So that'd be the other play as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think when I spoke to Randy, he brought up a really good point about, and it'd be interested to see your point of view on how you do this, but Like sometimes when, marketing managers look at their Google Analytics and they see that a lot of the conversions have come through Facebook, for example. But in fact, that's like they're just picking off the quick wins and the sort of low hanging fruit. And it's like they would have converted anyway, but Facebook takes all the credit for that. Same with like Google to a degree. And yeah, how should people be discovering these sort of opportunities? Because I feel like a lot of the time, like I say, they're looking at GA data and they're kind of getting swept up in the sort of, like I say, those sort of issues. So, yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so we don't really look at GA when we're looking for which platforms, especially to spend the time on. We're very much driven by the conversation that you want to participate within. If we just we've been working on a pitch for the last couple of weeks around football equipment, sports equipment. So if we just use football drills as the conversation, we went and did research on a few platforms, which I know we're going to get into, to understand what the conversation was that was taking place on football drills across social. And we can also understand where that term or where that conversation is over-indexing or under-indexing. And then we can use our sort of like strategic nous, our experience to go, okay, there is a thriving conversation on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. So there's a clear effort around short form video. We can see that Pinterest has a developing conversation, but it's not quite at the level of these three. So maybe it's short form video across these. And then in the case of football drills, we go and do some manual research on Pinterest and realize that the conversation is your flat 2D football drill breakdown images or like example images. So it's like, okay, well, when we're creating the video, we can then just take a still image and edit that image to add the details, to add the information for Pinterest. And then the final piece might be, well, there's also a growing conversation on Reddit. So then we'll say for Reddit, we need to be getting football coaches to share our drills that we're creating on these short form videos within subreddits. That's then a strategy we've created then, okay, it's short form videos, the leader. We support that by turning our videos into images for Pinterest. And then we support all of that and bring that together by getting our coaches that we work with to go and shout about these videos in subreddits. That's how we build it. There's no time really spent in GA4 because GA4 is just telling you about the people who already know about you. It's not telling you about the wider opportunity that exists in the world. So yeah, social analytics tools, social sentiment tools, conversation analytics tools, they're the bread and butter now. Intent research tools. I love also ask.com to give Mark a shout out. Like I lean on that tool quite a lot in our early strategy development to understand the questions that people are asking. And then we'll go and put those same PA questions into TikTok creator search insights or into Pinterest trends, Reddit trends to see if they're popping off on those platforms as well.
Yeah, it's fab. And yeah, it's Spark Toro, obviously. But there's a few good ones. And yeah, good point. And kind of connected, but I thought it was interesting. I just finished watching the P. Diddy documentary series on Netflix. And there was some, I've got to say, it was like this. I'm not sure how it's 100% correct here, but they were talking about how he was using influencers and people talking in different social channels and Discord and stuff around. He's like hired these influencers to start talking about the case as it was going on to try and influence people's mindsets and even the jury, if they were like looking at their socials and stuff, it might influence them on which way they go. Quite interesting.
That is interesting, to be fair. I'm going to sound like typical bro-entrepreneur, but like I genuinely don't get time to watch TV at the minute. Like we're quite all on all the time. So like I do over Christmas, I've said I'm going to have a couple of weeks off and I want to complete a few video games that are on my back catalogue and watch some TV. So I'll make sure to get that watched.
Yeah, sweet. I know the feeling. How do you manage to break down silos to have a bit like we said before? How do we manage to break down silos to affect the search everywhere strategy? Obviously, a lot of the time, like you say, even though the SEO team, if we have a decent size SEO team or whatever, even if you work for with an agency, sometimes when you're trying to get other teams involved, it becomes quite tricky and complicated. Have you got any effective strategies for that?
There's a couple, and there's a couple of points that I would sort of use as your facilitators to start building that relationship. The first is, like I mentioned, sharing those insights. So you're not gatekeeping information anymore and going, well, this is the search team's insight, so we're going to keep that, and that's ours. Like, there needs to be an olive branch offered to a social team, a brand team, a content creation team, whoever it is, to say, we want to collaborate. We're trying to facilitate collaboration between the team. I think the way that search is going, search is going to have a bigger role than the other teams in doing that facilitation. Because as we've already leaned on to, search is no longer just 10 blue links on a SERP. It's no longer just your on-site experience. We need support from the brand team to go and build those off-site signals. I need support from the social team to be going and creating scalable search strategy with content creators, or making sure that we're owning the conversations we want to through our own channel on socials. So we need to be the facilitator, and we need to be the ones that offer the olive branch. Now, that olive branch is our data. So if that is, we've seen that this Forbes article, this Forbes listicle, whatever it is, are featuring competitor brands, and we think that Mr. Brand Executive or Mr. Brand Manager, we can build a mention in that Forbes article. Can we go and do that together? That's the first olive branch. Another might be, we've seen searches on TikTok creator search insights for football drills at home are up 197% in the last 7 days, which is an actual stat. Go and create some content on football drills at home for families and for dads and lads, or dads and daughters, to go and do whatever it is. So go and do that. And then we're actually offering insights to start building that conversation. That then ties nicely into the second piece, which is, once we do that and we've offered out that olive branch, we can start to make the metrics that we all talk about similar. So that instead of me saying, well, I only care about visibility on a Google SERP and I only care about traffic, which we should have never cared, like we should have never been as invested in as we were, but still. Those two things, it becomes, well, actually, I'm trying to get more people to search for the brand. I want more people to search and be exposed to our brand. That's what you care about, Mr. Brand Manager, Mr. Brand Executive. So all of a sudden we have an aligned KPI. I'm not just talking to you about something that's completely alien to you in set visibility or set presence. And then to the social guys, you're saying, well, doesn't it make sense for us to be in the conversation of all of these creators rather than our competitors? Oh yeah, that's a really good point. That'll help your social sentiment on the platform. That'll help people being aware of us on the platform and therefore being more likely to follow us, which is obviously a metric that social teams, rightly or wrongly, tend to care about. But then we're all of a sudden aligning KPIs as well. That's how you go and do it. It's not trying to just break the door down and go in, right, the SEO team's here to take over digital marketing, because that's never going to work. Instead, it should be, we want to bring all of these teams closer together, create a trifecta almost, and then all go as a connected digital team rather than just being the silos that we have been. That's a really nice way of thinking about it. But there is also then trouble when it comes to, okay, but now I've got to allocate budgets. So I've got to allocate a brand budget, a social budget, a search budget. That for me is a next year conversation once we've tested and built these sort of relationships. So I wouldn't be trying to say, let's align behind a budget. What I would be saying is, well, what if you put up so much of the budget and we put up so much of the budget? And maybe it is that search offer more of the budget for a social search strategy this year, and they, again, offer the olive branch, so that maybe 70% of the budget comes out of search and 30% comes out of social, so that they can just go, oh, okay, these guys really believe in it because they're putting more of the onus on their budget. Then you get the buy-in, and then over the course of a year, you maybe move it to a 50-50 split or more and of the social team split. But yeah, that's been a trouble we've faced, where I've gone into teams and said, yeah, let's all be nice. Let's offer an olive branch. And then someone says, well, whose budget is this coming out with? And then conversations break down. So I think if a search team says, we'll take the onus on us and take more of the budget from our budget, that then makes the conversation easier.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I think that would be interesting, actually, how we go forward with it, because, yeah, they collaborate like if they bring it all under one roof sort of thing in future, because it is all sort of merging together, isn't it? So, it's sort of consolidated into one piece, but like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's like the brand. Like if I'm a search strategist and I'm trying to grow brand search, which should be an absolute key pillar of search strategy going forward, it makes no sense to say to the brand team, you have put all of the onus on your budget or we're not doing it, because it's a key driver for the search team to facilitate brand search now. If we need to offer that out a little bit, we should. And then I honestly think in a couple of years, it will be a situation where it's a digital budget, a digital marketing budget. As we've talked about, search is now going into more areas of marketing. So I can honestly see your CMOs, your more senior marketing leaders having significant search experience, because they're the ones that are going to be able to facilitate and chop up a single budget to say how much needs to be on social search, how much needs to be on influencer creator, how much needs to be on brand, and then how much needs to be on technical foundations for SEO or AI and LLM. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. That's probably the toughest area, I get that. But those olive branches that we can offer, they should help facilitate it.
yeah. And I had Patrick on from Sitebulb on recently, and he's saying similar to what you're saying, like talking their language, you're talking to the technical team, like try and put it across with metrics that they're actually going to care about, that you can have a common ground with, and then also, like from my own example, if you work with a social team, like you say, you don't want to come in and just take over and like, we own YouTube now or whatever. It's about working together to optimize some stuff and then see the results together and build upon those to keep going, and that's kind of worked quite well. But yeah, you don't want to come in and railroad and just take it over. And we haven't even got, most SEO teams haven't got the capability of managing all these different areas anymore. So
No, it's a really good point. And I think you can find that middle ground if you're just open to it. So you don't go in wanting to bulldoze what those guys are doing. So for example, with the social play, we've got brands that are really precious, rightly, about their own feeds. Like it's really important to some of the brands that we work with that their feed looks a certain way and comes across and feels a certain way. And I get that. So we work with content creators and we do it off-site, off their own owned channel first, to show them, look, this can work. This can look the way you want it to, but be optimized for search rather than just being a typical social post. So you build trust by doing that. And then you'll make those slow steps of going, okay, now can we have maybe one post a day or one post a week, a month, whatever it is that's on the own channel. Now can we start briefing UGC creators on social search needs and social search briefing? And you've built that trust. It's not just, right, SEOs here now, we're taking over the world. Like it's not going to work.
yeah, I mean, obviously I've grown to be patient because I've got kids, so you have to be. But I'm usually quite impatient, so I'm like, I want it, I want to make the change now. But yeah, you have to be like that for sure. This was something that I saw in your feed as well. Should SEOs be focused on revenue as a primary KPI?
Yeah, don't, Sean. I'll get stressed. So I've seen various conversations on LinkedIn, especially. I don't really go on X, Twitter anymore. I don't think many SEOs do. But on LinkedIn, I've seen like so many KPI conversations, and it's like you're completely missing the point. It has to be, the primary KPI has to be revenue, and it should have always been revenue. Because ultimately, if you're having a conversation with a C-suite, the first thing they care about before anything else is revenue. So we've had conversations this year where we've gone to a brand and we've said, traffic is down 28%. So if we're going as traffic being our primary KPI, like it has been for years in the SEO space, I'm basically talking myself out of a retainer. I'm talking myself out of a budget, or if I was the in-house SEO, I'm talking myself out of a job. But that doesn't tell the full story. The full story is in a zero-click world, traffic's down 28%, but that 28% was coming from informational queries that didn't convert anyway. And in fact, now that we're bringing more qualified traffic to the site who have seen us and discovered us through social search, conversion rates now actually up, average order values up, and as a result, revenue is up 100 and whatever % per year, just as an example. So then why was the primary KPI not be revenue? That should always be the go-to. And yes, there's always going to be things that we look for in the search team, and we're looking for at that level below the C-suite where we're going, okay, I really care about visibility to an extent. I really care about intent and making sure that we're meeting the intent of the conversation. I care about time spent on site. I care about click-through rate. I care about conversion rate massively, lifetime value. But ultimately, the primary KPI has always got to be the thing that moves the needle. And for most brands, that is going to be revenue. So yeah, for me, and I do get quite agitated, for me, the primary KPI for SEOs in 2026 should be revenue, and it probably should have always been revenue.
Yeah, like you say, obviously it depends on, like, for us, like, you know, where I work at Macmillan, it'll be donations or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
But, you know, like you say, those secondary KPIs, like, you know, visibility, the whole point you want to be visible is because you want people to donate. So, it's, you know, it's good, obviously, if you get more visibility, but then there's visibility and there's visibility, you know what I mean? There's lots of like different nuances around even just that.
I think it's hindsight's always 2020, so it's easy for us to say now. But like, if you just go back a couple of years, I used to report on like the visibility of a site, and it'd be like, okay, my visibility index has gone from here to upwards and to the right, and it looks great. And it's gone from, let's say, 2 to 10 or 2 to 5, whatever the shift is. But what it doesn't tell you is that I've basically built informational visibility for queries that we do or do not know are going to lead to transactions, and they definitely didn't lead to conversions there and then. So like, we almost fell into this trap of buying into our own hype a little bit and our own KPIs, because you'd be going to a CMO and he'd say, okay, visibility's gone from 2 to 5. And it was always the case when you got to QBR and it wasn't only the SEO team on the call, they would go, so what? And you had no answer for the so what in a lot of cases. So if we just use a digital PR example, we've built 100 links this month, Mr. CMO. All right, so what? What do you mean? I don't know what, I don't know. So what? I don't know what it's done. I couldn't tell you how much revenue it's made yet. I couldn't tell you if it's moved the needle. Couldn't tell you the impact on average order value. So that's why I'm saying there's a place for those secondary KPIs, and they can help us look on progress, and they should definitely be part of your reporting dashboard. But ultimately, it should be, I've got you this many signups, this much revenue, whatever the key revenue goal is and the key event is, that should be the primary KPI. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've definitely fell into that as well. Like, you know,
we all have.
Yeah, the people, and a lot, because of that kind of mindset now, a lot of the people who are directly involved in SEO, like you say, are kind of always asking about traffic, and even to this day, it's like focus around traffic, and we've kind of built that, like you say, that sort of, you know, focus, because we kept banging on about it for so many years, and now we're trying to change it to like visibility or revenue. But yeah, it's yeah, like, I definitely have been there before, and then you've got awkward conversations when things actually don't go to plan, and they're all red arrows, and people panicking because of traffic, and then you're trying to calm them down, saying, well, actually things aren't actually that bad because of this, that, or whatever. But they're in that mindset of traffic falling is a really bad thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We've got it with like a couple of the brands that we work with. I had a chat with one of them this week, and the e-commerce person said, so for 2026 then, is traffic our key KPI? And then it was like, I was like, no, like, I don't want to focus on traffic as a key KPI. I want the focus to be conversion rate, average order value, lifetime value, and then ultimately revenue. And the CEO of the business just came in the Slack and was just like, this is the way, this. And it's like, well, that's where the cut through is, because ultimately that's the ultimate decision maker in that business, signing off on your primary KPI. And it's been one of our biggest cut-throughs this year when we've been speaking to brands is we don't hide behind traffic and visibility and these smaller metrics or smaller KPIs, as I call them, secondary KPIs is a better word. We say to brands, we want you to hold us account to revenue. And if you're investing, I'll just use round figures, if you're investing 5K a month in Deviation, you should expect a 5x ROI on that spend. And if we're not delivering you that, I expect you to call us out on it. And the amount of times we've had CMOs or directors just go, well, that's refreshing. I mean, that's different is mind-boggling to me. But yeah, as you can see, I'm quite passionate about this one. But yeah, revenue should be the primary KPI.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, the only pushback, I guess, is that there's so many other factors that can influence the revenue into the organization. So obviously you could track it through the organic channels or whatever, but there could be other influences that stop it from performing, it could be anything from a perspective. Yeah.
That goes back to that piece around connecting your digital team. If we're all bought into our goal as a marketing team is to develop the revenue of this business, then all of a sudden we can get past this attribution piece. So with some of the brands that we work with, we have weekly calls with their paid agency or the other agencies that are involved. And we're basically saying, look, guys, how do we make you look good? Because then it's not attributable or organic, it's not ours, but we're basically going to brand and saying, yeah, but we helped with that, we facilitated that. And then they're doing the same with us, like, oh yeah, they've added Spark ads or collab posts to the posts we've created as social search content. And then all of a sudden, attribution doesn't become part of the conversation. It's just revenue is up X. And it doesn't matter how much of it I'm trying to claim is mine, because Mr. CMO, Mr. Brand Director, Mr. CEO, whatever, they understand digital Deviation has contributed across the board because I've seen them across everything. So then we do try and attribute for that 5x ROI that I mentioned. But beyond that, if direct revenue is up, like we know some of that's ours, but I'm not trying to claim that that's ours. I'm just saying direct revenue is up. We're responsible for some of that. So are paid, so are social. It's just really cool to see. And then you can just say across the board, the digital team has achieved an X improvement in revenue year on year. And I promise you CMOs are going to be happy with that. They're not going to start going, well, actually, like how much of that is yours? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I mean, it all plays a part, doesn't it? And that's why you're all trying to aim for the same thing. So even the offline people, they contribute because if you get a feature in a magazine or like we say, billboard or whatever, that can still have an effect on how it performs online. So if you're working in tandem, you're aiming towards the same thing, then at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter.
Exactly.
And then we'll just finish off the last few, I guess. What's going to make a successful marketing agency in 2026, would you say?
Hopefully Ashley Liddell, but we'll see. I think there's a few things. I think that if we start with the business side of it, I think more transparency, and that goes down to that KPI piece. It also goes down to agencies shouldn't be claiming they know everything about AI and LLM and this agentic future. It should be a test and learn approach. And I think sharing that mindset and having that, look, we're future-proofing your marketing. Not everything we do is going to work. And this is one of our big things that we say to brands when we're having them early discussions is we could test something and it could be wrong, but at least we know and we've tested it and it failed and we don't have to make that mistake again. And then we can get closer to what the AI and the LLMs are looking for. So yeah, being brave enough to be transparent, being brave enough to say that actually we are testing and learning and we are not a AI, LLM expert agency. We're just learning and willing to fail. That's actually going to breed success on the back of it, I think. I think that, and I saw Mike King do a talk on this at Hive Manchester, and he said that SEOs need to be basically using this as an opportunity to go after bigger pieces of the pie, to go after more revenue. I think that that's going to be important to making a successful marketing agency, especially an SEO agency. I think that we should be using this search everywhere, AI, GEO, whatever you want to call it, future, to reassess how much we're actually charging for the work we do. I've just mentioned a lot of work that us as search marketers are going to have to go to make this a reality and to execute on these strategies. So I think that we do need to reassess how we price those strategies up. So that'd be the second thing. And then away from the business side, I mean, I underestimated how important the culture play was and how important the building a business that people actually want to work at and stay at is. So I would say making sure you're listening to your teams and going and doing and building the culture that you want to create and not just relying on what you've done in the past from a culture point of view will be really interesting and really important. And that means empowering people to go and test and learn and empowering people to work in the way that they want to work, and all of that good stuff. Because as again, I underestimated the importance of that, but we've seen with Maria and with Shahan, who joined us this year, that when I get out of their way, they do some really kick-ass work, and that's what's going to grow our agency and facilitate that. So yes, I've got to be at the forefront of that, and my co-founder Sam's got to be at the forefront of that. But sometimes just getting out of Maria's way, especially, she just goes and smashes it. So we should do more of that. So yeah, that's what's going to make a successful agency for me. It's letting people test, learn, and fail, and trying to raise the value of the services that we offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because the landscape shifted, and like you say, there's a lot going on. It's going to be interesting to see how agencies adapt. And I talk with a lot of different agency owners and follow them, and it's interesting kind of different routes people are taking. And yeah, I'm sure you'll smash it because you've been doing a great job so far.
We're trying hard for sure.
What's your kind of go-to tools right now? Because there's so many that around, obviously a lot popping up, like new LLM based tools and stuff. Yeah, are there any sort of ones that stand out to you that you're using right now?
Yeah, so there's a couple that I'll name from the social point of view, and then I'll go to one of the more obvious ones and a bit more of a boring answer for the AI point of view. But from a social search point of view, we use a tool called Buzzabout AI. And Buzzabout AI essentially goes and analyzes social conversations for us, whether that's topics, brands, comment sections. We give it a topic, and Buzzabout goes and analyzes the conversation that's taking place in the moment, live for that conversation. So when I mentioned the social search play earlier and how we're developing our strategies, it's a massive strength of ours that we can leverage that tool. And it'll tell us what the pillars of a conversation are, what the pain points, what the motivations behind engagement are, what the comment sections are talking about, which obviously then gives us future content pieces based on the conversation taking place in the comments. So yeah, Buzzabout AI would be one from a social search point of view that I would really recommend. Another would be a tool called Viral. So Viral.app is an aggregator of all of your social media videos. So when you're working with a lot of content creators and you're looking for trends, you're looking to understand what works, what doesn't, what drives engagement, what doesn't, which hooks work or which hooks don't, all of that good stuff, especially when you're working with bigger brands and it's across 50 to 100 videos for the same brief. You need a tool like Viral App, which can basically aggregate all of those links, all of those videos, refresh daily, and tell you what the engagements are so that you can spot those trends. Is it this hook works better than this hook for a conversation or for a content idea? And then obviously lean more on that hook than others. So yeah, Viral App has saved me a ton of time because I used to do it all manually, where we'd be going and looking and pulling the metrics for videos. So to have that and to have that at scale, just upload a URL and it tracks it is great. Another use for it, which is really cool, is you can track your competitors as well. and see what's doing well from their point of view, see what's doing well for their hooks and like their social search strategy. So yeah, if there's another agency in the space working with a competitor brand on social search or an internal team doing social search, you can go and see what's working for them and either do it better or at least know what they're up to, which is really cool. So they're the two from a social search point of view. And then the AI LLM one it's a boring answer, but we really like SEMrush. SEMrush, their AI visibility overview, their AI PR opportunities, tools that they've rolled out since September, they've become like a massive piece, especially when we're having early conversations with brands, to just say, this gives us a metric as a view to understand what your presence looks like at a top level. And then we can go and assess each platform. And that's where we'd maybe lean on a tool like Profound to go and look at specific prompts, specific conversations. But from a top level, SEMrush is really cool with their sort of like built-in AI tools.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. And I was looking to say with the social one, does that cover pretty much all social channels, or are they specific to like a few of the main ones?
For the short form video channels primarily. So you're talking TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. You can go and assess all of those. For Reddit, we have a tool that we built that goes and analyzes Reddit for us, finds threads that we should be a part of, ideas where we should be showing up in subreddits, etc. So yeah, that's an internal tool, which is really cool. And then obviously your typical GSC, GA4 from a traditional Google point of view, even that still hate GA4.
Yeah, so although the new AI chat features are very helpful.
Yeah, I'd agree there. And being able to do things like branded search more easily in GSC, I can see long term that's going to become an advantage rather than having to constantly have regex codes and things like that. So yeah, there's benefits in that Google suite. I think we haven't had a chance to test it yet, but them adding the social elements to GSC as well will be a big advantage to us and sort of supports the proposition a little bit more, which helps us as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people are saying. It kind of just solidifies what your kind of message is. So yeah, and also like on Reddit, like if you don't have like the internal tool, Reddit answers for me is like great asset to get information from Reddit, and also YouTube. If you're a creator, if you go in the back end, it has like AI space where it can, or like analytics space where it can kind of break things down and give you ideas. So there are like other ways to find info about it. But yeah, cool. And the last one, and I guess it'll be good to get this point of view, but what do you think are going to be the main trends of digital marketing 2026? Nice, easy one to finish with.
Yeah, that's the easy one. I've had a couple of conversations now with really big brands, which has been exciting, also a bit daunting, but really exciting. And one thing that's becoming clear is that the biggest brands, they are recognizing that they shouldn't rely on ChatGPT, AI mode, Perplexity, Gemini, whatever you want to call it. And they're going and building their own AI interfaces and their own AI experiences. I was at a masterclass a couple of weeks ago, and one of the speakers said he can see a world where my preference as a food store is Tesco's. So rather than going to ChatGPT and saying, I want to cook this recipe, and then Agentic Commerce ordering that food from Co-op, Aldi, or wherever it deems the priority, I go to a Tesco's website and use their AI Agentic Commerce experience, where I'll just go, I want to cook this week. I'm going to give away my diet here, but spaghetti bolognese. The second night, I want to do homemade pizza. The third night, I'll do curry. The fourth night, I want to do fish and chips. And the fifth night, I want to do, I don't know, gyros kebabs, whatever it is. And then the Tesco AI will go and build my shopping list based on the ingredients that can be transferred across all of those recipes. We'll make the order and we'll arrange my shopping delivery based on when it knows I'm going to be at home because it's got that agentic experience. And I think that could be a really big play where brands are creating their own agentic experiences, especially your huge brands. For other brands, maybe medium-sized, less enterprise-style brands, I think that the AI agentic commerce play, especially if you're a Shopify brand, is going to be the big play. If you have an app supporting your business, jumping on the ChatGPT, OpenAI app interaction, the agentic experience with your apps, that's going to be the big shift for me. That's going to be the big trend play where we're almost facilitating and developing and showcasing presence across all of the sources that we've just talked about to facilitate and force AI, OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever it is, to use us when people ask for an agentic experience. And because we've built authority through our site signals, so that if someone says, book me a holiday rental in Cornwall, it goes, who's the biggest holiday rental brand? It's Airbnb. So I'm going to do it through Airbnb. And I think it's going to be the job of brands to become that preference so that when someone asks those questions, it's them that become the solution in Shopify agentic commerce or app experience agentic experiences. So yeah, they're the two biggest trends. And then finally, I think social search is only going to get bigger. And I definitely hope that's the case because obviously we've took a massive punt on it. But I think that all the signals, all of the language and the rhetoric coming out of Google at the moment suggests that they're aware it's only going to get bigger. And I think that more queries are not necessarily going to stop taking place on Google, but they're also going to be taking place on the visual search platforms like a TikTok or YouTube or a Pinterest, for example. So yeah, I think that social search has got a big role to play, especially in that discovery stage, which then facilitates that chat taking place with an AI bot on ChatGPT or wherever it's going to take place.
Yeah, no, I agree with all those, to be fair. You know, like you're saying, with social, it's clear, like you say, we said about Search Console, they're integrating info around that. And you can just see from the search, you know, the search results, like how much more social's integrated into the results. Yeah. So they know where things are going. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an interesting one where I think when the senior VP at Google, I'm a lad from Hull, so I'm not going to try and butcher his name. But when he came out and said 20 to 40% of map queries for things to do and like eating destination queries are now taking place on TikTok or Instagram, it's like those were just the start. Now it's only going to get bigger and wider. And then we're seeing things like on mobile. There was a test last month where Google were putting the short videos feed at the top of a lot of queries on mobile. So it's like all the signals that they're giving me are telling me that they recognize they need to be the aggregator of this social content so that people use Google, find the video, and then go watch the video away from Google, rather than Google saying, okay, well, how do we bring people back to the old way of doing it? Which I think is what traditional SEOs thought was going to happen for especially in the first 6 months of the starting Deviation. That was a lot of the chat. It's like, oh, well, Google will roll something out and stop this taking place. And actually, I think they're going, if you can't beat them, join them. We'll just make it easier for brands to understand what's going on and easier for users to find that content through a Google experience.
Yeah, and they've always said that, haven't they? They always said, like, our job is just to help users find the information they want
exactly
quicker. So do you think, I was just, the reason I was kind of looking away is because you're talking about the companies building their own, and NVIDIA have already started selling like these super computers to kind of help companies facilitate doing that kind of thing, like as well. So yeah, it's interesting to see like they're picking up on that. And do you think like agentic shopping, obviously they put in a lot of effort into it. I actually think that price match thing could be awesome if you really want to buy something and you see like the price drops in it. But do you think, because at the moment it's only built for like Wayfair, there's a few merchants, like places that, do you think people actually will adopt that and actually use it?
Yeah, that's one where I can see that being the for a lot of people, that's going to be their first sort of foray into AI search almost. You've got your younger audiences and certain like professionals in the marketing space are obviously using ChatGPT because they're using it for work. So then it makes sense that they use it in their personal lives. There's other types of professionals, like more of your like creative like people who are not using like AI because they're dead against it from a career point of view. So then they're not using it from a search point of view. I think when you give people the access to make better, not purchase decisions, but better purchases, where it is, oh, well, it's cheaper here, so I'm going to purchase you it from here. Or you need it within 24 hours, rather than you having to go through every result to find someone that can get you it next day. Here's the one that can. Think that that's going to be the breakthrough for the AI search space. I was writing a blog on this actually for the Deviation blog. It's a culmination of non-personalized experiences creating a personalized experience where brands are going to be able to put out non-personalized pages and almost intent-rich pages, but it's not, I need Christmas pajamas for, I'm a dad of 5, I need Christmas pajamas for me and my kids aged from 13 down to 5. Yes, I have a stressful life. But like, that's a tough experience when I'm going on to Next and it's like, they're out of stock in your size, so we can't have them if we want matching pajamas. All of a sudden I can just give an AI and just say to an AI, yeah, go do that. Like, it knows Ashley's got 5 kids. It knows the size of my kids based on the based on the knowledge that is built on my preferences and my history. It knows how old all my kids are. It knows the brands that I like to shop at. It knows their genders. It just goes and does it. Like, I cannot see how that's gonna not break through and connect. So yeah, that was a bit of a like wild-winded answer to the question, but yeah, I think it's gonna break through. Yeah.
No, it's true. And like Christian J. Ward put a really good LinkedIn message around this, around like we're thinking like, you know, very black and white about this. Like, oh, like you say, like, oh, go and get me something I prefer Tesco. So you think now it knows I like Tesco. But also within that message, you've told it I'm just making this up, but you're a vegetarian and also you've got 2 kids and also you live in London and also, it's building all this information about you from every message that you're sending it.
Yeah.
So if you made it think like it's built and I know Tesco now, I like Tesco, but they're building all that context around your life. And yeah, it's interesting.
That's why I think Shopify have got a massive play in this through their shop pay, because then shop pay can basically have an aggregated view of everywhere you've shopped. And that is a Shopify website. Know the brands that you like, know the types of products you're ordering, and then use all that shop pay data to make a better experience. And I think I can't look past Google. I think that they have got years and years and years of user data. They've got all the old cookie data, all the current cookie data that they're allowed to have. Like, that they've just got everything that you need to create that personalized experience where I can't look past them as being the ones that are going to win the race. So yeah, it's a massive opportunity. And I just think for me, especially as someone who's not an older millennial, but like I'm not a Gen Z, but I can still see how I would use agentic commerce in my life like instantly. So it's not as if it's just going to be your Gen Alphas and your Gen Zs adopting it. It is going to be like, look, I've got 20 minutes to make tea. Get me the shopping. I just want to be able to do this quickly, blah, 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 blah. Get me the stuff to my house and it's just going to do it. Yeah, it's got so much potential to fail, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously as I say, the reason it could work and probably will work now, you saw with Amazon, like people were quite probably dead set against Amazon at the beginning, storing your card and all that. But as soon as they did Prime and all these different, offers and the range of products, and people just forgot about all those sort of problems they had with it initially. And now everyone used it, well, like millions, billions use it. But that is also like the competitor, like if people would switch away from the Amazon, and it'd be interesting to see how they react, because it's been, um, many rumors about them doing a lot of stuff in this space going forward, and not much has come out yet. So it'd be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and the like things we don't think about from a marketing point of view, right? That just go over our heads that'll start to make a massive difference, such as like 3PL partnerships and warehouses and efficiency there. Like there's going to be pieces of the puzzle that are way above our pay grade that will lead to someone doing something innovative to become the front runner in the space. Like if you'd have said to someone before Amazon started that they're going to create a central ecosystem for all these products and then you're going to be able to buy them in one place, that would have sounded alien, especially with them being a bookstore at the time. But it happened. So the way we're thinking about agentic commerce now probably isn't going to be the final result of what it actually can do. It's going to be like completely different to how it eventually looks. Hopefully I'm the one that had the idea and it makes you a trillionaire or whatever else. But realistically, it is going to be like someone like Amazon, someone like Walmart, some of these huge brands will have an idea the way you just go, oh my God, that makes so much sense. It's so simple. Why did we not think of that? And like Netflix, like Amazon, like PayPal, that'll just become the norm.
And like it may be someone completely different. Obviously, like Tesla came out of nowhere, and
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean it's going to be one we know, but yeah, and it's interesting. I used the for the first time the ChatGPT shopping feature they have that you can build out sort of a guide to walk you through picking the perfect sort of product. And it's got flaws. Like it was good, but obviously you still can't go through and buy it, and that would be good.
Yeah.
If I could just pick it and then say, okay, cool, buy, that would be like ideal. Because now you still got to go through the website, you still got to do all the normal stuff, and it'd be interesting to see how they develop it going forward as well. Obviously, they do have some integrations, but if it's not part of that, then it's still old school. So
I think again, like we mentioned with Adobe buying SEMrush, the fact that Adobe are looking to speak to OpenAI and ChatGPT about how they can put Magento/commerce into their, like when a huge business like that, or when a huge business like Shopify is announcing that they've developed the partnership and they're the world's first, that sort of signals to me that they think it's the next big thing as well. So yeah, it's probably a conversation for another day, but then that'll start to put pressure on the website experience and what your website actually looks like and what your website needs to be, because all of a sudden it's not going to be a user-facing first experience. You're going to be thinking about it from an AI LLM first perspective, and user second, which is going to be very, very strange. But yeah, we can get another day about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but I can see that being either at the back end of 2026 or 2027.
Yeah.
I can see that being definitely the case of that going forward. And like you say, people like Visa and PayPal have already signed agreements and stuff, so there it's clearly like a big...
Yeah.
Anyway, I won't hold
like, no, don't be daft, you're fine. I was going to say we were speaking to a crypto brand and they were basically saying, yeah, well, what we're doing is we're developing a payment system that exists in the new world of payments, which again goes straight over my head. But they're basically saying we can pay people internationally instantly and for cheap. Whereas on the current systems, it's obviously really expensive to pay people internationally and it's slow. So then that's what I mean about there's all this stuff taking place and all this infrastructure getting built away from what we're aware of in the marketing space. That is absolutely going to infiltrate the space and change it. So that at the moment we check out with Visa and we check out with PayPal, for example. Next year we could be checking out with insert name of new payment provider because they've come up with this like instant international cheap payments. And that might completely change what the AI experience looks like. Like it's such an exciting time, man. Like I can nerd out on it for hours, but if you're a young SEO or a young marketer watching this, it is genuinely not been this exciting for a bloody long time. Probably, I said this at my Brighton talk, probably since Shopify launched was the last time that this was as exciting as it was, because that's when e-commerce started to really boom, was obviously the launch of Shopify. So yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a bit of a nerd for that type of stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, I was an early adopter of Shopify. I was with a startup and we had Shopify, and yeah, it was really cool. But I agree, and I think AI is, yeah, obviously it's got many flaws, but it has opened the door to innovation at a whole new level, and anyone can really, at a very cheap kind of basis, kind of innovate like quickly.
I was
And
thinking speed is the main one, like
yeah,
cheap and fast. That's the difference. Whereas obviously innovations come. If you think about research and development back in the day, it was you had the likes of huge. If you just take TVs, you had huge brands coming together to research and develop the new TVs because it was so expensive to do the tech and to research and develop the tech. So like you had billion-pound companies, multi-million-pound companies being forced to work with their competitors. Now you're just going to have an AI interface. So you're going to have innovation taking place, as we're already seeing, at rapid speed, cheaply, where competitors could come out of nowhere and they're going to achieve something that the huge brands aren't even aware of, or the huge brands can do something that they've wanted to do for so long, but it's just been too expensive to do in the past. And I think we're seeing that with like NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a really good example. But yeah, as I say, I'm a nerd for this shit. But yeah, I could talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we'll do, have another call soon, but I really, really appreciate your time as usual, and yeah, it's always great to chat. So yeah, thanks again, Ashley, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Yeah, have a good Christmas, mate. And if you're watching this before Christmas, have a good Christmas. If not, I hope you had a good Christmas.